Alright guys, we are back. It's CouchPotatoGM.com is the website. Couch Potato General Manager is the YouTube channel. You know it because you are on it. We're here to discuss the Washington Redskins NFL Draft. It's their recap. We're on the Redskins. What's their hashtag?
Hashtag HTTR.
Okay.
Hail to the Redskins.
First pick, they selected quarterback from Ohio State, Mr. Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk leading up to the draft. The Redskins might be trading up, trying to get in front of the New York Giants to get a quarterback. The Giants may be targeting Daniel Jones, or it could be Haskins. It's a lot of talk leading up to the draft. The Redskins, man, they stayed put at 15 and got their guy. Got the quarterback they needed, man. Last season, Alex Smith, horrific injury. They started off the season pretty well. The injuries took a toll on the Washington Redskins all across the offense. The offense faltered. Hey, why not start over with this guy named Dwayne Haskins? This guy was my number 2 quarterback. It was Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, then Daniel Jones. So I did have Haskins over Daniel Jones. Let's just start out with the weaknesses I see with Dwayne Haskins. Number 1, inexperience, a 1-year starter. But the positive with that is you saw Dwayne Haskins improve as the season went along. The last couple of games, this guy was lights out, manipulating defenses with his eyes, holding safeties.
Except for when he played in the bowl game.
Yeah, Washington. I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
That's part of my weakness with Dwayne Haskins. But the inexperience. But like you say, you see him get better. He's a smart quarterback, so he could overcome that inexperience. The second thing on Dwayne Haskins was a lack of mobility. This guy beats you from the pocket. We see in vogue right now a lot of quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, Patrick Mahomes. They can make plays outside the pocket.
Sexy.
He's not athletic, but he could get outside the pocket sometimes, get some yards for you. And the third weakness was against Washington, the zone blitzes. You know, he could be fooled, man. So when guys come off the edge and they drop in zone, young quarterback, I think he needs to improve that part of the game because in the NFL, these defensive coordinators are going to be sending the blitz at him.
So, I mean, obviously, you mentioned quite a few things there, and I agree with you. I think as it pertains to his weaknesses, you started with inexperience, and you ended with inexperience.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of him dealing with that zone blitz that Washington was throwing out there with NFL talent, obviously, on their defense, that he struggled a bit with that. I think that, to your point, is a byproduct of his inexperience. You mentioned the fact that, you know, there isn't a ton of mobility, but you did refer to the fact that he has functional mobility. Yeah. And that's all I'm asking for out of my quarterback. You know, great. If you have the quick twitch, lightning fast speed like Kyler Murray, that's fantastic. But that's not necessary to win consistently in the NFL. It's your ability to read defenses, make good decisions, have anticipation with your throws, and great ball placement. That's what it comes down to. And he's demonstrated some of those things already in his very young career. You know, outside of Mike Leach's offense, you know what I mean? 50 touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at. So obviously there's a lot of talent there. There may have been some concerns regarding temperament, maturity, whatever the case may be. He was leading that Ohio State team. That's what I saw. And to your point, Headley, again, he got better as the year progressed. Now, obviously, the elephant in the room is the inexperience. You know, there have been guys who have had incredible first years as a starter and then just leveled off. Or declined, their play declined altogether as teams got more comfortable or had film on him to actually dissect. So that's a risk that's being run here because he only has 1 year under his belt as a starter. But certainly I think all the tools to be successful at the NFL level are there because he's, again, primarily beating you from the pocket with his mind and the anticipatory throws that he's making. Now, as it pertains to Washington getting their guy, now, did Washington get their guy or did Daniel Snyder get his guy? You know what I mean? There reportedly was factions within the organization that were split on the merits of Dwayne Haskins. Of course, Daniel Snyder, I believe, had a relative, a younger relative that went to school with Dwayne Haskins and maybe high school, I believe, and you know, there was some familiarity there, and you know, that may be a problem. That may have been a problem. I don't think that's going to be necessarily an issue here because I really like the prospect. I think the prospect is worth the price of admission with the 15th overall pick. You didn't have to give anything up to get him. He fell right into your lap. That's the guy that you identified, that you wanted. We always talk about it. If that's your guy, go get your guy. They didn't have to do any of that. They just let the draft to them, and they got Dwayne Haskins. It's unfortunate what happened with Alex Smith. It's unfortunate. You know what I mean? He flashed a bit as he has been apt to do since he, moved on to Kansas City and ultimately Washington.
He did Alex Smith things.
Which is decent.
Yeah.
Decent. You know what I mean? The botched surgery, that's you don't want to wish that on anybody. You understand what I'm saying?
Malpractice.
Absolutely. But, if the quote unquote consolation prize is Dwayne Haskins, listen, Washington has to take it and run.
Taking it run.
Yeah.
These two gentlemen here, CPGMs over here, they're complimentary of Dwayne Haskins. I'm gonna be a little negative.
Okay.
Watching his tape, what I saw was a guy who, to a detriment. I know we say, he stays in the pocket, but it's almost to a detriment at times where he's staring down the barrel of the gun and he's holding on to the football. I'm not sure what he's looking at. I'm not sure he knows what he's looking at times, to a detriment where he'll take these crazy hits. It's like, bro, just get rid of the football. It's not there. You're not seeing it. Let it go. Taking crazy hits. Watching in terms of throws outside the hash down the field, not good. Deep balls, not good. They're not good. If it's not like down the center of the field, it's not good in terms of deep balls and the type of offense he's coming from. I know I can't blame him. I can't blame him for being in Ohio State offense, but we're talking about a lot of those passes were intermediate. A lot of those passes, I guess this is just the nature of college football at this point. But I got to point it out. Like we say here at CPGM, you go and get your guy. This is the guy that you feel like is that guy, and like both of you stated, he's gotten better as the year progressed.
Yeah.
You just wonder. Washington threw a couple of wrinkles at him. They have a pretty solid defense. The Rose Bowl game was just. I don't know which Dwayne Haskins you getting. But we're gonna roll with, and I know Redskins fans, you guys are rolling with. We're getting the guy who was improving throughout the year.
Yeah, I think to your point, Drew. I think there's some legitimacy to what you say. I think ultimately there's this very small sample size, and it's incumbent upon Washington to obviously get him good coaching, and so he can continue to progress as he demonstrated throughout this past season, and make sure that there's talent around him, because he can distribute the football. And let's be frank about it. You mentioned the offense he was coming from. This is what the NFL is becoming. It's what the NFL is becoming.
You're not wrong.
You understand what I'm saying? If he's not necessarily completing those over 20-yard passes outside the numbers down the sideline at a high clip, that's a low percentage throw anyway. You know what I mean? If he's carving you up in the short to intermediate,
then don't matter. Don't really matter.
we got with playmakers making plays after the catch. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I got a couple of things to say to rebut your points. You talk about that Rose Bowl game, and I saw it on tape too. I wrote it there in my notes. He sometimes he looked confused. He took some sacks unnecessarily, maybe when that zone blitz came. But at the end of the day, Ohio State won that game. He completed 25 passes, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So on his bad day, he still played like Alex Smith probably would have played. With just a little more touchdowns. Also, he lives in that short to intermediate game, and deep ball wanes, his accuracy wanes when he has to go down the field. My thing with Dwayne Haskins is he's a rookie. He's under Jay Gruden. We've seen Jay Gruden produce Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins. I think those guys are less talented quarterbacks than Dwayne Haskins. And also the offensive line. The Redskins offensive line is going to be huge. They're going to be big because, like you said, even though Haskins could get outside the box, he likes to live right there between the tackles. So the offensive line is vital for the Redskins this season.
I'm not going to fault it. I mean, obviously, if you're missing open receivers, you're holding onto the ball, not making those anticipatory throws, missing open receivers by NFL standards, that's a problem. But if he's willing to stare down the barrel of the gun to deliver the football, I'm going to live with that. You understand what I'm saying? And Heather, you alluded to the offensive line. Trent Williams has decided that he's not playing for this team anymore.
No bueno.
So that is a legitimate concern moving forward.
All right, so Washington, they had another first-round pick. They traded up. That's traded up to get that pick. So they traded up to the 26th spot and selected Montez Sweat.
Mississippi State
Montez Sweat.
Another coming down on another Redskin?
I mean, this is who they drafted.
Yeah.
I do like the team he's playing for, I will say that. This is a guy who has heavy hands, a guy who's a hell of an edge setter. This is a guy who is going to bring that fire. And I don't know what some people were seeing, draft nicks, people. I don't know. They talking about he has bend and he can get up and around. I didn't see none of that. I saw a power guy.
Yeah, Montez Sweat, he catapulted up draft boards when he went to that Senior Bowl, dominated the Senior Bowl practices, played well in the game also. What I saw on tape, yeah, he beats you more with effort. It's more effort than technique as a pass rusher. You got to develop some pass. I think coaching matters with this guy. I think he needs to develop more pass rushing moves. He's playing with Ryan Kerrigan, a guy that can teach him a few things over there. And also, right now, he's a better run defender than pass rusher because of needing to develop more pass rushing moves.
Yeah, there's refinement that needs to take place. And to your point, Drew, he's not as bendy as some may have considered him.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good football player, and I think he went where he was supposed to go. There was some talk very early because he ran so well.
Yeah.
He as far as athletic testing was concerned, that he could end up being, a top 5, top 10, maybe even top 5 pick. I thought that was a bit of a stretch, but I think getting him, in the mid-20s, was a good move, particularly when you lose Preston Smith.
Yeah.
Trent Murphy has moved on as well. You need to replenish what you have in terms of pass rushers. Ryan Kerrigan obviously has been doing it for a very long time at a very high level. He's one of the more underappreciated pass rushers in the NFL.
Speaking of Kerrigan, that was another guy when he came into the draft. It was more of an effort player.
How many guys are entering the league as finished products? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's always a projection. You never know. You never know. I just think, and some might argue that the reason why he didn't go as early as a lot of people had predicted was because of the medical condition that he apparently had. But Washington was comfortable enough to use some of their future draft capital to move up and acquire him. And I think, again, where he was selected, I think they got solid value for him. And I anticipate if he's a student of the game and he hitches his wagon to Ryan Kerrigan, I think he could turn into a quality starter in this NFL for a long time.
Yeah, I want to see how he does standing up. A lot of in Mississippi State, he had his hand in the ground mostly. Washington's going to have him stand up and put his hand in the ground. So it'll be interesting to see if he could, get back in coverage. He ran that 4.4 speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if he got the awareness in pass coverage.
I think that's more the question. You're not going to have him in man per se. He might redirect somebody, the tight end or a guy, in the slot or whatever the case may be. He may drop into a hook zone in coverage, but more often than not, he's going to be going forward. I'm less concerned about whether or not he can hold up in coverage. I think awareness is important, but I don't think that's how they're going to use him. What I am concerned about, to your point, is there is a difference between having your hand in the ground and standing up. There is an inherent difference associated with that. Not everybody is comfortable doing that, so that'll be the challenge.
In the third round, the 76th pick, they selected Terry McLaurin from Ohio State, wide receiver. It's a man who wins. To me, he can win at the top of the route, but he wins with his feet or his hands at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I put smooth, easy moving from the line of scrimmage, and he glides out there.
Yep.
He kind of reminds me of another Terry from Ohio State, Terry Glenn. He glides out there.
They don't know who that is. That's a long time ago.
83. R.I.P. man. When Haskins got drafted by the Redskins, he put out a tweet, man. Go get one of my guys. And the Redskins obliged. Got Terry McLaurin. They have a good connection. I'm sure that's going to be a big connection in camp through the preseason, and have him get on the field a lot earlier than you may think.
Let me ask you: Is he a slot or is he a out wide guy, or is he both?
I think he's an outside receiver.
Okay.
I've seen him do that a lot, but I'm sure he could go in the slot also because of his feet.
Yeah. This is one issue I had with him, and this is easily fixable in my opinion. Is when he's running those short to intermediate routes, you got to find the hole in the zone. Like he'll just keep running. He'll run away from where he needs to be. Like I'm not sure. To me, that's easily fixable, but it's like, why wasn't that fixed through the? I
think it's a coaching thing.
I think so.
I honestly think it's a coaching thing. I think Urban Meyer, it's about running. Run as fast as you can, run as hard as you can. They run a lot of those drags and crossing routes in Ohio State.
Yeah,
so it's just about running. It's just about keep running. I don't think the offense, the way they ran their offense, because typically Ohio State generally has better athletes than the opposition.
Yeah.
These guys are faster than who's covering them. So they put their receivers in a position to catch the ball on the run. There's less of the option route, and there's not that level of sophistication associated with their offense, in terms of the route tree that each receiver is running. That's something that they'll have to learn at the next level.
Another knock I saw on McLaurin was he's more of a finesse receiver right now. I just want him to develop, more of that dog, you know what I'm saying? So we can trust him out there. Everybody can't be Steve Smith.
No. Everybody can't have that.
That might be the extreme. That's a little. I need to cut back a little bit, but that maybe just be come with also the nature of the offense.
Sure.
You know? So
What's interesting is off the field or on the field, however you want to consider it. The talk around the Senior Bowl was how his persona and how he presented himself.
Well, he's a definite leader in the locker room.
You know what I mean? He's a leader. A lot of people were suggesting that this guy has the makings to be a CEO ultimately, and has that kind of presence and understanding. So, while he may not necessarily possess the most the fierce competitor in a demonstrative way. I'm not saying he's not a fierce competitor, but in that demonstrative way, I think from the neck up, this guy has it.
Yeah. Speaking of that too, man, him being with Haskins, he could rub off on Haskins from a leadership standpoint also. So that's an excellent combination.
And they know each other familiar. Ohio State. D Ohio State, sorry.
D?
Yeah, D Ohio State. In the 4th round, the 112th pick, they selected Bryce Love, running back. Don't they got AP on the team already all day?
They got Darius Guys. They got Chris Thompson on the team.
What? Bryce Love? Okay, all right. I'm with the pick. I love Bryce Love. I'm gonna read from my notes. Can I do that? Is that okay? Y'all good with that? Okay.
Read your notes, man.
Short area quickness, got them small feet. And when I say small feet, just like Mr. McLaurin, it's just what they can do in a short area. They can make you miss in a short area. They can do you nasty, make you look ugly as a tackler. Make you look silly out there. Doesn't give the defender much to work with in terms of taking on contact. I mean, I've seen hits where he's taking full contact, but for the most part, he gets small. It's a little harder to that's what you want as a running back. You don't want him taking 100% of the blow every single time. I preferred him in a one cut system, but there was a little too much dancing for my taste, and I felt like Stanford's offensive line wasn't the best, so he was doing a lot of trying to make people miss and things like that. But I felt like if he's on a one cut system, get him up the field, get him going. Can he make people miss in open field? Absolutely, but that's kind of where I preferred him to be. And when you talk about the roster in terms of Washington Redskins, we just named all the backs, this is just a different type. When you talk about you go to Longhorn Steakhouse, or you go to Burns, or you go to one of the steakhouses, there's a different kind of steak, right? Mm-hmm. It's all steak, right? But they're all different. That's what I'm saying with these running backs.
Got different cuts out there.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. You got the big, strong guys, AP guys. You got the patient inside runner and Bryce Love. Mm-hmm. And you got Chris Thompson who catch the ball at the backfield. So the thing about Bryce Love is he just got a perfect blend of patience, vision, and burst. It's like watching poetry out there. He's real crafty in how he does things. And when he gets to the open field, I just like how he changes speeds. He creates those angles for himself. I don't think he's a burner. I'm not sure what he ran, but he got that football speed, because of how he uses his patience and change of direction.
I like the pick because I like the player. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there are injury concerns in Washington's backfield. We talked about injuries at the top in terms of this entire offense, and it actually matriculated to the defensive side of the ball this past season as well. But certainly, they have a lot of talent in that backfield. It's about who's going to be healthy. There's still questions about when exactly Darius Guice is going to be, full tilt. We know AP isn't really human. He's probably half man, half machine. You know what I mean? Because he's still doing it at a high level. I expect him to lead that backfield once again, but he will wear down. He will actually wear down now at this point in his career. So, if they can get anything out of any of those three backs, Thompson, Guice, or Love this season, that's going to go a long way to helping their new quarterback.
In the 4th round, with the 131st picks, the second 4th round pick, they selected Wes Martin, guard out of Indiana. And when you talk about offensive linemen, we all want the guy that can do run blocking well and pass blocking well. We want that all-around guy. But sometimes you feel like I'm gonna get the pass blocking guy, and we're gonna work on his run, his run blocking, or vice versa. This is a guy whose pass blocking I thought was exceptional. Run blocking, got some questions. Also, I have some questions in terms of him getting out to the second and third levels.
Third levels. Third level.
I just if you can get out there. I thought the second level and I'm the third level out there. But in terms of his pass blocking, if he gets his hands on you, it's a wrap. But in terms of and him being headsy, the rushers crossing his face or a delayed blitz or a late rusher coming, he finds that guy. In terms of rush, there was really no push, and it wasn't from lack of trying. It just wasn't there.
Wes Martin is like a prototypical Big Ten offensive linemen. It's just more power. Maybe an old school Big Ten. You know, some offenses have changed in the Big Ten, but it's an old school, more power, not really a mover in space.
Phone booth.
Mm-hmm. He actually reminds me of Will Hernandez, the Giants drafted last year. Except Will Hernandez has excellent feet.
Yeah.
This guy, he has to work on his agility, like Drew said, get to the second and third level. But he's a strong, smart, 38 bench press guy. So really strong guy for Washington on their offensive line.
And, you know, again, we've talked about it. What has been, frankly, Washington's undoing over the last several seasons is the fact that that offensive line either isn't playing at a high enough level or they're playing great and then the injury bug catches them. So they need obviously quality players that actually can stay healthy.
All right, in the 5th round, the 153rd pick, your Washington Redskins selected Ross Pierschbacher or Pierschbacher. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section. Center. He's come from Bama. Watching his tape, headsy football player like the previous Mr. Martin. He's a guy who I felt like, again, I'm going to go back to pass block, run block. I felt like his pass block was better than his run block. I also feel like the way he handled people in the pass game, felt like I wanted to translate to the run game. It didn't quite do that, but there was push. For me, it wasn't fierce enough.
Yeah, he's not very strong at the point of contact. I think this guy's more of a he's kind of like the opposite of the pick before. He likes to get out of space. He likes to move. Yep. He's a 4-year starter at Alabama. Has a lot of experience. He played guard, and he gives me nastiness. I see nastiness on tape time after time with him, so I like that.
Yeah, and again, I'll echo what I said about Martin. You know, they need depth. They need capable bodies. You don't need a mauler per se, you know, as it pertains to strength at that pivot position. Yeah. You need the intelligence, as you mentioned, and then the ability to get to the second level, to get on those reach spots and seal off and so on and so forth. You know, a lot of teams are now pulling the center, not just the guard, but they're pulling the center. After the snap, you got to be able to move. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this guy brings that to the table. And of course, this is additional depth to a position group that, again, is the most important in the NFL. And Washington, for whatever reason, just hasn't been able to keep 5 guys on the field.
In the 5th round, the 173rd pick, your Redskins selected Cole Holcomb, North Carolina. Was a linebacker. It's a very light linebacker. It's a sideline to sideline linebacker. It's kind of that with that new age linebacker that we speak about. The issue I had with Cole was when he locks onto the quarterback, he will be fooled because he's so locked. He uses that as like the end all be all in terms of, you know, what's behind me, what's going on behind me, and it was like to a detriment. He was always 1 or 2 steps behind. I mean, he was a run and chase guy, but you can't run and chase everything. You know, sometimes you just got to be there, and that was part of it. You know, you got to have some kind of instinct, some kind of awareness around you. And it just, for me, it wasn't there.
Yeah, that was right here in my notes too. Like misdirection. Yeah, you know, he could get himself out of the play because of misdirection. The guy's coming on the opposite side, big hole to run through. So he just needs to work on that, get more aware after the snap. But this guy is, like I say, a chase and run linebacker, a run and chase. Is it run and chase or chase and run?
It can be both.
It can be both. These guys are run and chase linebacker. If he could diagnose, he diagnosed quickly. He converts speed to power. At North Carolina, very productive. And he knows, he gets his hands on the football also.
Yeah, it's a problem if you have blinders on, though, at the linebacking position because of the way the league has transformed. Offenses have transformed, like you said. If you're struggling, both of you, if you're struggling with misdirection and the smoke and mirrors, that's going to be a problem. That's a problem. Now, of course, his strengths, you know, should allow him to, you know, break into the special teams, be a core special teamer out the gate. Of course, you have the injury with Reuben Foster, so that creates a bit of a void there. I think Washington was planning to have his services coming into this season, had the injury, a very severe injury as a matter of fact. So Holcomb might actually be thrust into, you know, some sub-package duty sooner than anticipated. Again, there's some tools to work with here, but he's going to have to not only really be diligent in the film room in terms of, you know, understanding his keys and not taking the cheese. He's going to have to really garner more experience and kind of see what's in front of him in order to truly be able to diagnose on a consistent basis.
And at the very worst, he's going to be a hell of a special teamer. In the 6th round, the 206th pick, you like that? your Redskins selected. You got a steal right here, man. Everybody was like, yo, how does man keep falling? Somebody pick him. Hope my team would pick him, and of course not. And the Redskins scoop him up. It's Kelvin Harmon, wide receiver out of North Carolina State. I'm going to read straight from the notes because they sexy, they beautiful. Best blocking wide receiver in the country. Looks to relish this contested catch king. Harmon is what? Benjamin Kelvin. Where's he from?
KB, FSU.
Okay, you don't call him KB. He lost that. Kelvin Benjamin. Harmon is what Kelvin Benjamin should have been. Shows his numbers to the quarterback when ready. Catch radius is a plus. Body's the cornerback covering.
Oh, you love this guy.
Uses the body. uses body and hands to get off the line of scrimmages. It's a cornerback's that challenging at the top of the route is very good at taking that hard step and creating that separation. But again, he's not overly fast. One of the reasons why, it probably fell. And his route running isn't the best because it's a little bit lumbering. But he's a guy who you can throw the ball to. He's a guy with catch radius, so it's okay if he can't beat it, if he can't separate from a guy consistently, because he's going to make the contested catch. He's going to give you that catch radius. And a guy I'm gonna liken him to. And I don't think he'll ever get to this level of player because he's improved since he's been in the league, and he's one of the best receivers in the league right now, in my opinion. It's Mike Evans.
We talk about the fall of Kelvin Harmon, and it really tells you what teams covet. They want a guy that can separate quickly. Yep. They love that speed. That's why Kelvin Harmon, a guy that's not overly twitched up, fell all the way to the 6th round. But that creates a steal for a team like the Redskins because Harmon, when he's covered, he's kind of open still because he's a back shoulder beast. He has strong hands. Moment of truth, he's just more physical than the defensive back. So, a guy like that, I like guys like that, but it seems like NFL teams are staying away from guys like that.
Well, NFL teams, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. They are tending to shy away from those guys because it's all about creating angles and then having the explosiveness to really separate and take it the distance. I think there are two issues that I have with Kelvin Harmon. Now, I'll focus on the positives initially here. Like you said, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. You're getting great value from him because at worst, this is a 4th round pick in my opinion. All right, at the absolute worst, but they get him at the 6th round because again he didn't have fantastic testing numbers on tape. You see the dog. You wanted to see more dog out of McLaurin. You getting the dog out of Kelvin Harmon. And this is a need. No one has really distinguished themselves in this Washington receiving core. Jamison Crowder has exited. You're expecting, some guys to step up here. You pay Paul Richardson the big money. Trey Quinn to fill in the slot. I think that's the expectation. You need some pass catchers to really step up. Jordan Reed, has dealt with injuries off and on. There's been some inconsistency there. Obviously, when he's right, he can be one of the better playmakers at the position in the league, but that's kind of been hit or miss. So you really do need someone to step up. I can see a scenario where Harmon carves out a fairly significant role as early as his rookie season just because of the injuries that Washington is generally having to deal with and the fact that no one has really staked claim, to being that go-to wideout in Washington. He has to improve his route running. I don't expect him to consistently separate.
No.
If he doesn't have the speed to do that naturally. Mm-hmm. So your route running has to be precise. Your footwork has to be on point. Again, he's going to make most of those, contested catches, 50-50 balls. You like your odds with Harmon. But at this level, when you're facing physical defensive backs that are willing to mix it up with him, he's going to have a hard time beating those particular players because he doesn't separate and not because he lacks the speed, but because he's not polished enough as a route runner. Mm-hmm. If you can improve upon that, I think you could. I don't want to go that far because this guy had a really distinguished career, but we're talking about Quan Bolden, in terms of catching just anything in his vicinity, but never truly separating from anybody. Yeah, but Bolden improved as a route runner throughout his career.
In 2014, had 3 interceptions, 15 pass deflections. Mm-hmm. 2016 had 2 interceptions, 11 pass deflections. 2017, 8 interceptions, 22 pass deflections. 2018, 5 interceptions, 15 pass deflections, and yes, he has returned a couple of interceptions for touchdowns. Six of them. Yeah. So I don't care what he looked like. I don't care where he was playing. I just know dude finds the football. You have it, I'm going to find you. I'm finding you.
Yeah, man. What opened my eyes up to Jimmy Moreland was the Senior Bowl, the practices in the Senior Bowl. And they asked one of my guys, Debo Samuels, who's the toughest corner out here? He said Jimmy Moreland. So I was like, I gotta watch tape on this guy. So watching the tape, you see that he's very instinctive. The 18 career interceptions, 6 to the house, and he gets his hands. He gets a good jam on receivers. Gets his hands on his receivers, throwing them off route. So he could win at the line, and he wins when the ball's in the air. This is the type of guy I think that could last in the NFL a long time because he also gives you special teams. I think he blocked a bunch of kicks too on special teams. So yeah, man, I like his all around skill set.
Yeah, we talked about the value that Kelvin Harmon represents. I think he got great value with Moreland in the 7th round. Of course, playing at a smaller school. Production doesn't lie, and at this level of the NFL, they're going to find you. He was invited to the Senior Bowl for an obvious reason. And with that being said, you notice a bit of a trend here. Washington really getting some extra time working with the individuals at the Senior Bowl with the Sweats, the McLaurins, Jimmy Moreland, so on and so forth. So they clearly identified some players during that All-Star game that obviously has a lot of reps and a lot of experience and made it a point to actually add them to their roster.
With their 2nd, 7th round pick, we have a guy who was at the Shrine game that we had attended, 253rd pick, Mr. Jordan Brailford, outside linebacker from Oklahoma State. And I'm watching him like, dang, first step quickness, he kind of, I don't want to say he dominated the game, but his name kept popping up, kept popping off the tape. And then I went and looked at the tape, the college tape. And here we go again, the Big 12, taking tweeners and doing stupid stuff and funny business. Got him playing defensive end, got him playing middle linebacker, got him. I can't get a beat on him. I just know his first step was beautiful.
Yeah, high effort, high motor. Like you said, I see him in coverage. He did a pretty decent job in coverage, so he has versatility to either rush a passer or drop into coverage. But the biggest weakness I saw with him was just he missed a lot of tackles. He didn't come under control. He was just going too fast. So he just got to just break down a little better and make these wrap up tackles.
Yeah. We're talking about finding that pass rush opposite Ryan Kerrigan. Again, didn't mention him before. Ryan Anderson will be expected to plug in when Preston Smith has vacated Trent Murphy. But you need waves of pass rushers, whether you have an even man front or an odd man front, and you're dealing with the 3-4 outside linebackers, Ed Rutschers, you still got to have waves of pass rushers. So Brailford, Sweat, you add that to the Kerrigan and Anderson, you got a nice little nucleus there in terms of your pass rush.
All right, Washington Redskins fans, that is the draft recap for your team. Let us know how you feel about your team. Let us know how you feel about Daniel Snyder. Let us know how you feel about Bruce Allen, who is the GM for those guys. And let us know, we can talk Haskins in that section. I know that's the big thing. That's your quarterback of the future at this point. So let us know how you feel. And man, can somebody please pray for this team so they can stay.